What's going on? My name's Austin. I'm the owner of a 7-figure detail shop, and today I'm going to tell you why most detailers fail and the 5 skills that nobody talks about. Point number 1, technical skills. Now, this is the point that most detailers actually get correct, but I would argue this is the easiest of all. There are 1,000 different videos on YouTube on how to detail a car, how to do a single-step correction, how to do a 2-step correction, how to apply a ceramic coating, how to do the 2-bucket wash method. This is the bare minimum. This is the entry level. Now, you do have to have this skill. So I'm not saying these videos are bad. Watch these videos, join the IDA, get hands-on, practice these skills. But this is the bare minimum, and people still focus on this, and technical skills will not make you a success. And that is what a lot of detailers do not understand. They think as detailers, they think as technicians, they don't think as successful business owners. If you don't want to be a successful business owner, great. Focus on how to polish a car 18,000 times. You'll be the world's greatest polisher and nobody will know you because you don't know how to market. Skill number 2, financial intelligence. This is severely lacking in the detail industry and I don't understand why. You need to understand that revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is king. You need to keep that in mind. I see this a lot with beginner detailers, especially when they aspire to get to PPF. Yes, it can be very exciting to land a $15,000 PPF job. How much material is that? How much labor is that? How much time is that taking up in your shop? These are things that when you're starting out, you don't think about, you just see the total price tag and you get really excited, right? So you need to be tracking your expenses. You need to know what products are costing you. You need the fewest number of products that will get the job done well. What I'm not saying is don't be willing to spend money on premium products. Honestly, I think most of the time you should, because I think the more premium you get, that is a more diverse product and will do more for you than buying 5 cheap products will. I started this business in 2021, and again in 2025, we did about $1.1 million in revenue. I have fallen victim to a lot of these traps. Let me give you 2 of the worst examples I can think of off the top of my head. Number 1, I bought a $3,000 paint depth gauge. Spoiler alert, don't buy a $3,000 paint depth gauge, okay? Why did I do that? Well, if you don't know, paint depth gauge will measure metal substrates, okay? Most cars are gonna be made of aluminum, so they'll measure that. However, certain cars, like Corvettes, are gonna be made out of fiberglass. Paint depth gauge, your average paint depth gauge will not read that. Now, if you get a $3,000 paint depth gauge, it will. However, I feel like it was not always the most accurate, and it was not worth the money of what a $100 paint depth gauge will do. So understand when you're going to buy something, understand what is your return. Is this going to make me more efficient? In the paint depth gauge's case, no, it wasn't. It wasn't worth it. Horrible financial mistake number 2, dry ice. I would strongly advise you against dry ice unless you are a very, very, very large shop. Why do I say that? We spent about 30 grand getting into the dry ice game. You might think 30 grand is a lot of money. It's not. Realistically, what we learned when we got into it is you really need to spend closer to about 50 or 60 to start playing the game. 30, yes, gets you a seat at the table, but you're not really playing the game. When I look back on that, would I rather have $30,000 or a couple dry ice jobs a year? I would rather have $30,000 in cash. So in that case, we thought it would be a good return on investment. We didn't know what we didn't know, but you always need to look at what actually is this going to make me more efficient? Is this going to bring me more money? Because at the end of the day, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is king. Skill number 3, Communication. Again, unfortunately, most detailers suck at this. So communication is getting your point across and having it understood by the other party. So what this does not mean is going into incredible in-depth in how you're going to do a 4-stage paint correction, and you're going to use a 21 millimeter DA with a wool microfiber cutting pad with a yellow foam Rupes finishing pad, using the technique learned by the ancient Buddhist monks. Like, just stop, okay? Your client doesn't understand that. You need to communicate what you are going to do that shows your level of professionalism and technical mastery, skill number 1. But again, that's the bar, in a way that makes sense to them, that they can understand, and that it aligns with their goals. Okay, so I see this often with, I think the biggest thing is paint correction, right? When a client comes in and you look at their car and it's absolutely trashed, I don't want to use the word two-step. I don't want to use the word compound. I don't want to use the word polish. I want to say, hey, we're going to remove majority of these scratches, right? They don't need to know how, but all they know is, I have scratches, I want scratches gone. We can make that happen, right? Now, if they open the door and they ask questions, or, this is very important, if they bring up a word, if they bring up two-step correction, if they bring up polish, if they bring up compound, that now gives you license to use that word. Also, it's probably important to clarify by what they mean by that, right? They might have just heard it. They might not know what it means, but if they use it, you then have license to use that term. So keep that in mind. Also, you need to learn how to communicate on the phone and how to figure out what they're looking for. So we recently did a market audit. 60% of shops did not answer on the first call. 30% never returned the call at all. We need to be professional. If you want to be taken seriously, you need to be professional. The other thing you need to ask is, what are they expecting? What is most concerning to them? On the interior, on the exterior. If they have that one spot, damn well better believe when they come pick up their vehicle, they're going to look at that one spot. So that one spot better be fixed. Now, they could have a whole host of other issues, but if they point out one thing, you better fix that one thing. You better ask them that one thing, because most people do have one thing, so you better fix it. And you need to give them regularly updates. You need to stay in touch. We don't want to be the body shop that holds your car for 2 months and you never hear from them. You have no idea what's going on, right? Send them pictures. Send them a text update. It takes 5 seconds, but you're too lazy and you don't want to do it because you think the technical skills are what matter. It's not. It's communication, it's relationships, it's building value, and being to effectively communicate your value. Skill number 4, SOPs. Potentially the least favorite of the skills, but slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You need to do the same thing every single time. Almost every job, there's always some challenge. There's always something different about it. And there's different cars and there's different challenges. That does not mean the process changes. Now, you can have different processes, but the process does not change. So you start at the same point every single time. You end at the same point every single time. Your chemicals are organized. They are labeled. Your towels are organized. You have a clear plan of attack, and you know how you're going to go about the work. Why does this matter? One, efficiency, right? That's pretty straightforward. If I can do a job that takes 4 hours, if I get it done in 2 hours, great. I now have more time. Also, my hourly rate theoretically just went up. So yes, efficiency is important. Everybody knows that. It's also, if you ever have a desire to scale or grow, or you already are growing and you don't have SOPs, this almost goes back to communication. You need to be able to communicate to your employees simply and accurately what the process is, what the expectation is, and how they need to do it. All right, number 5, emotional maturity. Detailing has a very low barrier to entry and is also fairly physical work. Those two factors tend to lend itself to very young males, right? We don't see a lot of females in this industry. It's very low barrier to entry, so it tends to attract people with not a lot of cash. And the physical nature, you need to be young so your body keeps up, right? That coincides with incredibly low emotional maturity majority of the time. What do I mean by emotional maturity? I mean being able to check your ego at the door, whether you're talking to clients or anybody else, right? You could be, let's say you do master the technical skills. Great. Are you going to be humble enough to continue to learn, right? Are you going to say, nah, can't nobody tell me nothing. I'm the best. There's always something to learn. And I feel like in this industry, the amount of people that I see on groups that say, I'm the best detailer. Cool. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I don't want to be the best detailer. I want to be the best business owner, right? Because the best detailer at the end of the day still got to polish a car. You know what the best business owner does? Whatever the he wants. Emotional maturity also comes to play when you run into walls, right? How do you deal with an angry customer? How do you deal when you screw up? How do you deal when your employees screw up? How do you deal with financial hardships? How do you deal with adversity? First off, everything in the business, if it's your business, is your fault. 100%. Your employee damages a vehicle, that's your fault. How is it my fault? I didn't damage the vehicle. Yes. You did not put them in a position to be successful, right? You clearly had a failure of communication. You had a failure of SOPs. Somewhere along the chain, it went wrong that allowed that employee to screw up. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. If that employee continues to screw up and you have SOPs in place and you've had talks and you've had trainings and they continue to screw up, well, then it's time to fire them. But that's on you. That is not on the employee. Emotional maturity also means thinking long term, right? When a problem presents itself or you have a chance to take a shortcut and make a quick buck, you need to have the respect for yourself and for your business to not take that route. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot. But if you value long-term success, you've got to do the right thing, right? And so even that it means refunds, admitting you screwed up, eating whatever it is, right? That is the right path to take, because if you sacrifice your reputation for a short-term gain, you're gonna fail. Those are the top 5 skills of why most detailers fail. Let us know which ones you agree with, or if there's ones you feel like we missed, drop a comment down below. Let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it. If you like this type of content, be sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos like this.